Final Fantasy 14. Is it worth it in 2025?
Final Fantasy.
I heard Dawn Trail has just absolutely killed the game. Like, it is just really bad. And the game is in shambles. I don't know. I'm not a Final Fantasy 14 Andy, but that's what I'm hearing.
One of those games that I was fabulously late to. After almost 20 years of having a dysfunctional relationship with World of Warcraft,
every day I wake up and I hope you're dead.
I decided in 2023 to break off the engagement and meet someone new, and thankfully I didn't have to look very far for a replacement. Back in 2023, Final Fantasy XIV really took me for a spin. It's seriously one of those gaming experiences that I'll remember for as long as I live.
Really?
And to make it clear, no, I did not skip any of the content. I mainlined the pain like a professional masochist.
Okay.
And as such, I played from A Realm Reborn and finished off with Endwalker in this.
That's what I did too. I don't remember exactly what expansion I got to. I'm pretty sure I got at least past the expansion that introduced the samurai class. I don't know what it is, man. I'm just not a storyline guy. Everyone's like, yo, the story's so good. It starts slow, but the story's so good. And I'm like playing through it. I'm like, when is the story going to get good? Because I'm still kind of bored. Like, oh, it starts slow. Don't worry, it starts slow. And then like, that was just the response I constantly got. Until one day, I asked the same question again. And the response was all of a sudden, bro, wasn't that expansion? Wasn't this, like, wasn't that awesome? I'm like, wait, like... Up until this point, I've been told that it just starts slow and I'm not at the good parts yet. Then all of a sudden I pass some of the good parts. Like, what? Like, bro, that, like, can you believe that one tall elf guy died? I was heartbroken. I cried. I'm like, that one dude that died, the Gosh guy, I don't know what the hell his name is. I was like, I thought low-key there was like a gay arc in my storyline as a male character. That guy that kept giving me weird looks in the snowy castle area biome place thing, that guy dying, and that's what I knew. I was like, okay, I'm just not cut from the same cloth, man. I am just not an MMO story guy. But to be fair to me, I genuinely think MMO stories are just objectively worse than experience-wise than single-player games. There's no way you can compare it to like an Expedition 33. Playing Expedition 33 recently reminded me that, yes, I still do appreciate good storyline. And I think the reason why is because MMOs, bro, there's so much time between pivotal moments. You know what I mean? You're not just going from cutscene to cutscene to cutscene to cutscene, a little bit of gameplay cutscene, right? There's a very long break, it feels like, for me. And there's so much filler content where it's like, you know, the next couple of hours, for example, the next couple of hours, you're killing these mobs to help Farmer Fran over here. And the storyline involving Farmer Fran is actually completely irrelevant. But they can't just speed you through the story, so they need like filler content, you know? And I would appreciate that if it kind of built, you know, the built up the anticipation or the feeling or the emotion to the pivotal moments. But I don't know, I feel like MMOs just don't really do that, man. Maybe it's because I'm too distracted with just going vertical. You know, I want to do the raids, I want to do dungeons. Maybe it's that. But I don't know, man. I just cannot get behind a storyline. I'm trying my best to get through the entire storyline yet again for Guild Wars 2, and it hasn't been too bad. It's better. It's been going better than expected. But even Guild Wars 2, man, nowhere close to a single player game, man. I don't know.
Kind of maybe 2 months, and thankfully I didn't need to wait very long for the next expansion, Dawn Trail, which was scheduled to release in 2024. Now this might sound familiar to you, or maybe it doesn't, but if it does, and you're stuck in that period either before or after playing through Dawn Trail, and you're asking yourself,
with that said, I love the look of the characters.
But is it
that character
worth
was great.
Getting into?
And I was surprised how much I enjoyed the combat. The whole GCD system, you see this person, you see how long that GCD is? I thought I would hate it. I really did. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And it made me appreciate the combat a little bit more. And there are a lot of abilities that you can use. that's off the GCD, right? So as you're waiting for your GCD, there are other abilities that you can weave in between abilities, which was pretty cool. I also thought the class mechanics for some of the classes were pretty cool. I really enjoyed the samurai. And I'm actually planning on going through another playthrough of the game. There are a couple of classes that look really cool I want to check out. But I think I'm going to do it a different way. I don't think I'm going to do a full story campaign playthrough this time. I think I'm going to rush to the juice. Okay? And before you condemn me for that, just know I did do it the other way before and I got bored. Okay? So let me do me. Okay? I really want to experience the raids. And I'm excited to jump into it. However, all of this talk about Dawn Walker Trail Mist thing, I forget. I'm sorry. What's the name of the fucking expansion? Dawn Trail. All the negativity surrounding Dawn Trail, it has been a bit off-putting for me. If I'm gonna keep it a buck. But as someone that's very ignorant to what the end game is truly like, I don't know why it's so bad. Hopefully this video can tell us. But regardless of how bad it is or it isn't, I do plan on jumping into the game, no matter what.
You've never played FF14 before, and you're still deciding on whether it's worth jumping into or not. And well, if it wasn't obvious from the first 20 seconds of this video, if you're someone who's pining for a long and detailed story that gradually builds into an explosive...
Please, really? Was Dawn Trail hated on strictly because of the story? There's no way it was just because the story was weak, because if that's true, that's going to be irrelevant to me.
Semi-orgasmic crescendo, well then
what is this budget ass Sephiroth doing on my screen?
Is your soulmate. There's not
that guy
a
looks pretty
single
badass.
MMO on the market that does story and character building like FF14 does. You will form emotional bonds with fictional cat boys and there's no reversing it. What I'm trying to say here is that you're probably gay. In any case,
yeah, I just never got that, man. I wish I did. I don't know what to tell you, man. Surely it's a me problem.
I gotta admit,
surely it's
making
a me
video
problem
around Final Fantasy XIV is...
I will say that I was very emotionally attached to the characters in Expedition 33. Unfair comparison, sure. Probably. But I'm just saying. I don't have a stone heart, is essentially what I'm trying to get across here, okay?
It's really difficult because
I was torn in Expedition 33. Phenomenal game, by the way. Best game I've ever played. Not an exaggeration.
Things can constitute a spoiler. I mean, even naming a mount feels like I'm breaking NDA. But I don't think I've ever played an online game that takes you through so many highs and lows, laughs and tears, and in the end leaves you completely satisfied.
I really want to love Final Fantasy XIV though. Final Fantasy VII is what got me into RPGs when I was in third or fourth grade. I love the theme. I love the fantasy that Final Fantasy brings. I would love to really like the game, and that's why I want to really dive into it and experience the end game for the first time.
Before Dawn Trail, that is. And we'll get to that a little later, but for now, let's talk about some basics for all of you beginners.
Okay.
As I always tend to do with these videos, let's go through the character creation, and well, while having some pretty alright presets that can absolutely make your character look cool, it does have a distinct lack in level of detail.
Okay.
You can't really do much interesting stuff with any of the
Great
10
POV, by the way.
races, except maybe changing your height. It's one of those parts about the game that's always left me feeling somewhat disappointed because I can never really make my character just right. And it's especially noticeable after having recently played Black Desert Online, which just completely outclasses FF14 in terms of details that you can adjust. Let's just say that I miss my jiggle physics. That said, BDO does not have a variety of races to pick from, and for what it's worth, when you can play as a giant bun girl, it's just an automatic win, man. And after having played through most of my 2 years as a bunny with heterochromia, I'd say that you get used to it, especially so considering the amount of screen time your character gets with all the cutscenes. But it's not just an interactive
Not a big fan of eyes that are different colors.
We're playing here, so what about the combat, the gameplay? Well, FF14, like many other MMOs before it, struggles pretty heavily with making combat interesting in the early levels. Press one button, wait, press another button.
I hated this. I really hated this, especially doing the early game dungeons. Holy shit. That GCD feels like an eternity sitting there cycling like 3 fucking abilities on your bar, and that's all you get. Holy shit, that's so bad.
And that's your rotation.
So
I can't really
bad.
think of a single class or job, as it's known in this game, that starts out being really fun right out the box. And I've played every single job in this game. Most jobs feel pretty clumsy and slow to play in the beginning, and I think this is probably one of the most common areas where someone might just decide to give up on the game, simply because FF14's combat is very deliberate in design. This gets very clear as you unlock more and more skills, as FF14 uses a combo system where if you chain various abilities together in the correct order, you successively make each ability stronger. This combo system is by all intents and purposes very casual in nature, because there are no skill trees in FF14.
Too, by the way.
You'll probably be burnt out from your main class at one point or another. However, unlike many other MMOs, FF14 doesn't lock you into a specific class for
Love
the
the samurai class, man.
You can pretty much decide to switch jobs on the fly, given that you've unlocked the job through a questline beforehand. I very much love this system because it makes leveling alts less of a necessity, and you can focus pretty much all of your time and effort into your main character. On the other hand, though, I kinda miss the alt friendliness of WoW, mainly because having alts allows you to hop between characters that can differ wildly in appearance and design. FF14 bypasses this issue too, but in a less impressive way. You see, there are these items called Fantasia that allows you to redesign your character, and you can completely redesign your toon from the ground up by using this. The problem is that aside from a few free ones you sometimes receive in-game, Fantasias can only be obtained on the MOG store, where you pay with real money to receive in-game items. Ah, yes, nothing says fantasy immersion like entering your credit card info to change into a catgirl. Now, while I don't necessarily have a problem with this, it is a little annoying to have to resort to buying this whenever you just want to play around with another toon. Well, just play on your other alt then, I hear you screaming in the comment section. And well, you're right, you are free to just hop on over and level up your alt. But unfortunately, FF14 does not share progress between characters. Hell, you don't even share banks, and you can't even send mail to yourself. And because of the sheer volume of questlines and prerequisites you have to complete to access certain things like dungeons, trials, and raids, you will have to do them all over again. So, let's just say that FF14 isn't really the most alt-friendly game.
Dude, this character's mouth is low-key kind of syncing up to the dialogue of the video.
And before I forget, I just gotta say how much I enjoy the trade skilling jobs. For example, if you're not much of a fighter, you can simply elect to just gather and craft your way through the game. And FF14 has this pretty cool approach to crafting where you have to actually...
Never got into the crafting.
Well, craft. Shocking, I know. A crafting system that involves crafting, I hear you say. Next, I'll be telling you that...
I wonder what the average peak concurrent player count is for this game.
Fishing involves fish. Seriously though, as an example, if you're forging a ring and you want it to become a high quality item, then you have to fill a quality bar by selectively picking the right action before you run out of attempts. It's like a turn-based battle between you and a bracelet, and sometimes the bracelet wins. This makes the crafting side of FF14 feel very engaging, and I often find myself losing my sense of time whenever I start working on my trade skill jobs. The sun rises, the coffee's cold, and I've made 400 shoes. Aside from trade skilling, gathering, and playing through the main questline, or MSQ for short, there's a whole host of things to do in Final Fantasy XIV, and naturally the amount of activities to do increases with each new expansion. Farm for legendary weapons, buy your own house or apartment and furnish it, partake in massive PvP battles, try your hand at savage raiding.
Okay, honestly, the PvP was a little bit more fun than I expected, by the way. I've always heard PvP in Final Fantasy XIV is garbage. When I did it for the first time, it wasn't amazing, but it was. I actually had fun with it. And then since then, I think they've added more PvP content, and the new stuff they added is actually pretty good. I don't know.
Pick up zany quest lines that'll have you question the sanity of Yoshi P. There's so many things in this game that'll keep you occupied for months, if not even years. And whether that's fulfilling or deeply concerning is, well, simply up to you. That said, and speaking for myself here, I picked up FF14 because I heard that it does a good job with storytelling, and well, it disappointed my productivity, my social life, and my spine, but not my soul. Now, as I mentioned earlier, talking about Final Fantasy XIV story and characters is so goddamn fucking difficult because there are so many twists and turns that is best served fresh, and any footage I show for you on screen could be seen as a spoiler to someone. Honestly, if I even breathe near the plot, someone's gonna post a timestamped angry comment, or somebody's gonna chase me down. I swear. But let's just say this, the base game storyline—
You know what I'd love to ask the Final Fantasy XIV community? I would love to ask them what they would rate their game if you could not put the storyline into consideration. If you had to remove the storyline and lore from the equation, it's gone. I wonder what they would rate their game.
That being A Realm Reborn, leading up to and post Endwalker, is absolutely phenomenal in ways I just can't describe in a way that does it justice. You simply have to experience it for yourself. And by experience it, I mean cry into your keyboard at 3 AM over a mommy goddess with huge badonkers.
Ooh.
At any rate, this brings us to the most recent expansion.
Yeah, the raids, I've heard the raids are really good.
Now, Dawn Trail is a very interesting expansion because it is supposed to serve as a sort of soft—
Well, I mean, here's a spoiler. I guess this guy, what's his name? Alphanaut or something? Well, I guess he's not dead. Spoiler.
reboot to the entire storyline. You see, the previous expansions were all building to a grand finale in Endwalker, ending off a specific storyline that started with the base game, A Realm Reborn. And after the giant and frankly absurd events of Endwalker, Dawn Trail was always in a very bad spot because it had to contend with one of the greatest story culminations in video game history. And well, Dawn Trail is an expansion that, in my opinion, stumbles a lot, especially in terms of writing, characters, and pacing, and unfortunately its issues are not just bound to storytelling. While some of the later content,
that's all
like
I'm hearing so far.
7.2 and 7.3 patches introduce some really cool new dungeons and raids, the base Dawn Trail experience as you level up your Warrior of Light from 90 to 100 can feel like an absolute slog sometimes. And it's not until roughly half of your leveling experience where the game finally starts to pick up speed again. Like, you can absolutely feel it in your bones when starting at 90. At one point, you log in and think, wait, was that it? And then 10 hours later, the game goes, oh wait, here's the plot, found it. The storyline is more laid back. You're in a more—
he said it's not just the storyline and plot that holds it back. And I'm like, okay, great, let's hear those things. And he's back to talking about the storyline and plot.
And tropical environment, and even the Warrior—
Tell me what's wrong with Dawn Trail that's not related to the story.
World where they're usually the main character. This, as it turns out, has become one of the largest complaints about Dawn Trail.
So it just feels, I guess it feels like a grind from 90 to 100.
Sort of scales downwards instead of up. And as much as I agree that it does indeed get very fucking boring sometimes, I also understand why Yoshi P and the
cutscene's pretty nice quality though.
Because when you end a saga, like in the case of Endwalker, you sort of have to pull back and set the stage again, especially—
That's ridiculous. That's I'm sorry. You could do that with a DLC, not with an expansion. No, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of the excuse that the previous expansion was so fucking good. Even if we're talking about story, it was so fucking good that the next expansion should be, or it's acceptable to be, shit. No, man. No. No. You got to do it better.
So due to the scale of events in Endwalker. However, as I mentioned, things start getting interesting around the halfway point, and I think the devs has managed to make the expansion more enjoyable as time has passed, especially so with the more recent updates. So at the end of the day, is Final Fantasy XIV—
Bro, so he didn't tell us what, so, bro, he says it's not the story that makes it bad, and then let me tell you, it's not just the story that makes it bad, it's other stuff as well. Okay, great. And then just proceeds to continue to talk about the story.
Worth Playing in 2020.
So far, I've not heard a single thing. And I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm saying this because I genuinely want to know, as someone that's not playing it and hasn't played Final Fantasy XIV, a Dawn Trail and whatnot. I have not heard a single reason why Dawn Trail is actually bad gameplay wise. I haven't heard a single reason that isn't tied to the lore and story.
25. Abso-heckin-lutely. In Final Fantasy XIV, you will find some of the most emotional and impactful storylines in gaming. Stories that make you hurt so bad that it makes you want to call your mama and ask her how her day is going, just to fill your body with something, anything to wash away the hollow emptiness that has taken root in the depths of your soul, especially so after Endwalker. Final Fantasy XIV may not have the most explosive and engaging combat, the greatest endgame, or even the best writing, but damn it, no other MMO out there will have you weeping like a goddamn baby that lost its favorite toy. What I'm trying to say here is that Final Fantasy XIV is, well, it's pretty alright.
Okay, listen, I'm willing to admit that I may have missed it. To be fair, I'm streaming, it's I'm entertaining chat, it's been a long day, it's been a long week. Maybe I missed it. Chat, why did he, what were his reasonings as to why Dawn Trail was not well received and why he even thinks it's not very good? What are the exact reasonings he said? Because I just heard story lore, MSQ story lore. So you guys got that too. Okay, so it's not just me that interpreted the video that way. All right, well, here's a link to the video, guys. I do plan on jumping into Final Fantasy XIV pretty soon. Hopefully we have fun.